Welcome back to hashtag us too. This is Jay Elliott.
And SB Rivadeneira.
And here we are. This is our 8th or 9th episode. No, wait a minute. Maybe 9th.
Yeah.
We'll
go with 9th. We're here. Gia's standing by. And
Gia's standing by.
We're just talking about whatever we want.
Yeah, whatever we want to talk about.
And what is
the
that?
The world's our oyster. My brain was like, boys? And I'm like, no, I don't know. No.
What about, like, okay. How did you get into stand-up? I don't know if we've, like, gone over that yet.
Oh, I think we did, and it was one of the deleted episodes.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, so I was born upstate New York. I went to college upstate New York, and then I had a horrible drinking problem. Also, when I was, like, a little kid, I loved stand-up. I loved Jerry Seinfeld.
So you were going to say drinking. I was like, damn.
Just out the womb. Like, where's the beer? No, I loved stand-up.
Wow, since when? That's so cool.
I was, like, little. Because my dad would watch, like, the Chappelle Show and then be like, you can't watch some of this. And then I remember, like, Seinfeld was always playing, the sitcom.
Wow.
And then and then it would do the cut to, you've seen the sitcom, right? Or not really?
I know that he does stand-up. Isn't he a stand-up in the show?
He's a stand-up in the show, and then, like, but it's not really even about that, but it's just, like, that just happens to be his job, and then at the beginning, like, at the intro, it will show him performing stand-up. And I was like, I can do that. And then I remember my dad being like, I feel like he just sort of knows a little bit about everything, but he was like, it's really hard, and he's probably said that thousands of times. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, you have to, like, do it over and over and over and over again. And so I loved stand-up. I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh my God, so good.
So good. And then I had a really bad drinking problem, got sober, and I was like, felt nothing. Like, I felt depressed. I was like, I'm never going to be happy. Because at that point, I had made drinking like a huge part of my identity. Mm-hmm. So I was like, now I have nothing. I'll never be happy again. I was convinced. I was like, so sure I would never feel anything good again. And then, because when you're withdrawing, you're like, you're just convinced. I'm pausing because I'm thinking about it because I forgot how bad it was. Because I was like, and now I'm just comparing to other people I know that are alcoholics. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a little like, this is what they're going through. You just forget how shitty it is. And then I was like, okay, I need to do something crazy to feel, because it wasn't even that I was depressed, but I wasn't feeling like anything.
Okay.
I was like, there was like this weird numb period. And then I was like, I need to do something crazy. And I used to be really shy, which was part of why I would drink so much. And so I was like, do improv or stand up. And I was like telling my parents, I was like, I'm going to try it. My dad was like very anti stand up. He was like, they drink a lot there. And I think if I had started with stand up first, I would have relapsed. But I started with improv, and the universe must have did something, because we had the best like improv class. Normally I hate improv people, but it was like guys I'm still friends with, and this one girl, Katie, and like it was such a fun class, and everybody was really cool, and those were like my homies until I started doing stand-up, and then we all kind of drifted our own way. But those were like my first friends in Austin. And it was funny, I was like terrified. We went out to eat one night, and they were like, what drink are you gonna get? And I was like, I don't. And they're like, oh, cool. And I was shocked because all of my ex-friends drank all the time. So there was no pushback. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I did improv. And then eventually I got kind of sick of improv and moved into stand-up. And that was how I started.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And here we are. That was like, how many years ago?
8. I did improv for 3 years, like hard, before I did stand up. So 8 years ago.
I think that's actually pretty similar to like me, because I was shy, and I also felt nothing. So
Oh
I
my
I would gravitate to things that made me feel something.
Yeah.
I guess that was just depression, but also was going to church a lot and not being myself and feeling like I was going to explode because everybody at my church for some reason was all the same person. They all wanted to get married right out of college, get a good job, get a car, get a house, have babies, and make their parents happy. I also went to a Korean church, so that was kind of the
Why?
Because my roommate went there. So I was just kind of like, oh, maybe I should go to church. And then he was like, you can come with me. And so I went with his church to his church. And then I was like, all right, we'll just go to this one. Plus, I also kind of liked being, like, making there be more diversity.
Yeah, it seems kind of fun.
Because it was all, like, Korean people, and then I was like, I'm here too. Like, I was like, there's this bubble, and I need to break it. And I didn't. But
I did not do anything. I didn't make a difference at all.
But I started stand-up.
Do you talk to that kid?
No, because I fell in love with him while we were living together, and then some kind of shit went down, and I like stopped talking to him, and he thought it was because of that. But I knew it was just because I couldn't like handle talking to him because I had too many feelings. And then I eventually...
We're such girls.
I eventually just told him, I was like, I have feelings for you, and that's why I haven't been talking to you. But, I haven't spoken to him since.
Life is so dramatic.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I like when I have feelings for people because I think it's, like, very human.
Well, so I mentioned to you before, so my friend Hilberto, another comic, he came over today and we were talking, and I was telling him I've always been, people are like, you're really emotional or like good at expressing your feeling. Because there have been times where I'm like, I feel like I'm too emotional. And my good friends are like, you're not. Everybody feels that way, but they don't really let it out. Like you're like really clear. Like you kind of wear your heart on your sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
And Hilberto was saying like, because I was kind of sad when I was like talking about being heartbroken to him, and he was like, no, he's like, I know it's weird, but I'm like happy for you. And I was like, why? And he was like, because now you have, he described it as like a pendulum. Mm-hmm. He was like, so I don't know I forget where he heard it from, but it's like you have like this little bit of feeling, and then you go through a heartbreak, and then it's more severe, and then it can go back. But now it's even bigger. Yeah. And so he was like, so now you know even more. And he was like, and I think anytime you get heartbroken, you really loved someone, it's like one day you're really gonna like love someone even more. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if I do that, I could die. Yeah. I was like, then it just means I'm more vulnerable, like the Avatar state.
Yeah.
You know how he's like more powerful, but then he's like more likely to die. I was like, so I'm more susceptible to death. But I think this is kind of macabre. I don't know. I feel like I think about people talk about, like, you know how I've heard that when you die, you like your brain naturally produces like DMT or whatever that is. And then it, like your life flashes before your eyes or whatever. And the other night I was thinking like, no wonder I'm like anxious at night. I'm like thinking, I'm like when I die, what the fuck? But I was thinking like when my life flashes before my eyes, I can't, right now to this day, I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, I would feel worse if I didn't try. Like, I'd been telling you, it was like, oh, I was heartbroken, so I was like regretting the relationship, and now I'm like, no, I'm thankful in myself that I feel like it's courageous that I was like, I tried everything.
Yeah.
I was like, you did everything you could, so I can't feel bad. Because if I saw someone else doing the same thing, I'd be like, dude, that person's sick. In a good way. Like, I would be like, oh, hell yeah. Like, you're like pushing.
You're going for it.
And that's what I'm like trying to compliment myself more, where I'm like, oh, you're going for it. You're like living. Like you say, like, it's going to be a great story at the end.
Yeah, that's my thing. I want, when I'm at the end, when I'm old, I want to have great stories. And also just, I think when you die, this is just religious, I guess, but I think your whole life story gets kind of played like a movie. So I want it to be a good one.
Yeah, you're like, if I'm going to watch this,
Yeah.
it's got to be
I'm the producer.
But I think we're both similar too, and apart from like relationships where we both took a risk on moving here for comedy, because a lot of people will tell me, they're like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, and I want to ask you about your like moving situation, but for me, I literally showed up with like 2 suitcases, and I was like I was on my friend's couch for a while, and then I found a place, and slowly. Did you have stuff?
I had 1 suitcase and then a bag. So, like, basically
Damn.
the same. And I stayed on my uncle's couch. So we were, like,
oh my
so
God.
similar.
Dude, the universe is real. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I don't believe in God. I'm like, you're fucking retarded, because how is it that, you know how people, even, like, homeless people on the street, they, like, gravitate towards each other? I'm like, you find the right energy when the time's right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's good. I'm glad. I mean, it's crazy how similar it is. Like, when I moved here for stand-up, okay, so I started stand-up in LA.
Yeah.
I was going to church, and then I was like, I'm gonna explode, so I'm gonna go do an open mic, and I did. It was close to my college at the time, and they had, like, a little room for, like, the school improv groups and stuff would perform there, and then they had, like, an open mic for stand-up on Mondays, I think. I showed up, I signed up way late. I was the last person. Nobody was in the audience. It was just, like, me and the producer, and or the host or whatever. And I had my little notes. I got on stage. It was bright. I forgot everything. And then I just talked. It was horrible. I think he might have laughed, or it was a cough. And then I was like, I got off stage like, that was so cool. I want to do that again.
Yeah.
I hear about these people who, like, do stand-up for the first time and they do well.
Oh, I did horrifically.
I was so bad.
Dude, it's crazy how similar it was, because I would be last. And I remember the first time I wrote out a whole thing, and then you forget everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love when I see, like, cocky new guys come in. They're like, I'm going to be so good. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And I watch, and they're sweating. Like, It's scary. And then you have to get over, like, you just do over time. But I would shake and
Me
literally,
too.
like, drip sweat. It was gross. And it was funny because one of my own friends was like, not to be rude, but I leave the room when you go up. It's just so cringy to watch. And I would get so nervous, and I was horrible.
I was horrible.
It was.
I also didn't write a joke for I think a month or something after I started stand-up. Like, I didn't know what joke was. I didn't think I could write a joke. And then I would write at work, try writing funny things, and then one day I finally wrote, like, a knock-knock joke-esque kind of thing, just, like, 3 lines, a setup, and a punch, and I was like, that's a real joke.
Yeah.
And it was the first ever joke. And it kind of blew my mind, because when I was growing up, I kind of thought jokes were, like, riddles. It was something that you had to have, like, a special brain to write, and I could never do it. That's what I thought. And then I wrote one, and then I've been writing them since. But it's really hard.
They're like they are kind of like puzzles. It's fun too, like when you start to. Do you know that airplane joke I have? It's like new. About the doctor on the airplane. You might not have heard it.
I think I've heard of it.
I was like, I'm trying to take a sillier route. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to change gears and be more imaginative. Because normally I just write like really honestly, which is great.
That's good.
And I still am writing from truth while using my imagination. But I feel like that joke, I was so scared to try to write silly. I was like, I should just throw it out. I don't know what to do with it. And then I was like, no, fuck it. Just stay with it for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And then you see, like, I listened to a set when the first time I did it. I was like, there was not really much confidence. And then, like, it's a bad habit a lot of comics do. They're like, well, it didn't work. And I'm like, you didn't pause. Like, you didn't leave any room for laughter. You weren't really clear. And it helps to listen.
Nerves.
Yeah, nerves. And it was like, it's
clunky.
New.
I was trying to remember it.
Anxious about it because I was like, this is a new style for me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't think anyone's going to like it. I was like, dude, fucking go up there and act like you own the plate. Like, and then it's insane how much confidence. I mean, sometimes I see people that suck, but they're just they got that swag.
That's one of the mysteries of stand-up, is like people who have something like a savoir-faire or whatever, that kind of charisma that's magic, and they don't have to be funny in a weird way, and you're like, that shouldn't be allowed. But people have that. And I remember when I was starting, I was like, how am I funny? And I would try just going up with nothing, and I'm like, maybe I'm just goofy enough to pull it off, but I go crushed and burned. I have to work really hard to write.
But I think you do have that thing too, but I think it takes a while to come out.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I guess so. That's like the performance side, but I work so hard at writing.
So do I.
Because I feel like that is where I shine. And when I was doing like a lot of open mics, I would write a joke and then say it flat and not add anything extra, just like say it really deadpan. And if it got a laugh, then I knew it was funny because people laughed at the words. And it was just the idea. Else. Yeah, not the performance. And then I would put more into it. I don't know if that's right or not, but
I think Kevin Hart would do that with he had writers and he would just send them out and be like, say it flat, or he would do it flat. But that was a way to be like, is the writing good? Because sometimes I will lean on, because I've been doing voices and stuff, so sometimes I feel like I lean on the performance part a little too much. Like I have a bit that's really not that good of a joke at all. I'm trying to write about Texas being hot, and it's like sometimes the audience just laughs because the accent is funny, and I was like, you're cheating yourself, like go back and write, because I was like, it's not, because I did it in front of comics and they didn't laugh, and I know like comics is a different beast, but I was like, I could tell, I was like, no, this needs like a punchline.
That's another thing too, like the transition from doing open mics to shows where comics laugh at literally the most disgusting, horrific shit. You say that in front of regular civilians and they're horrified.
They're scared.
I remember the first show I ever did, the first real comedy show with humans. I started out with a rape joke, and then I
remember you told
right
me.
Into incest, and then they were not having it, and I realized I can't just start a set like that. I can't maybe even use any of these jokes anymore. Like, I have to write more family friendly. And I don't have to be like
friendly.
Yeah, like I don't have to be like Jim Gaffigan where everything's just about food and no cussing, but more family friendly than rape. Which is like a very low bar.
I learned that too. My miscarriage joke, I was like, that's my opener. People were like, the fuck? It's insane how when I end with that, people like it because they know me already. But you start with that crap, they're like, no, because
they think it's like, they think if that's the setup, where the fuck is this going? They get nervous. Yeah. But like, you gotta
earn their trust.
Yeah.
That's true. I've gotten much nicer. I think it's hard making the transition from mics to shows too because like mics made me really tough and bitter and angry
and mean.
Yeah, I would be fucking mean, and I would go on stage with audience and would be mean, and people are like, "I think you're scary."
Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, they're like,
they're like, whoa. Like, I'm just eating my steak. I don't know. People aren't eating steak where we're doing comedy, but
they're nachos. Fake nachos.
Also, like...
The pasta's hitting. We keep eating pasta before, and I'm like...
before this, yeah.
It makes me sleepy.
I'm, like, gonna pass out.
I want more pasta.
I've also been trying to transition from trans jokes, because I write, like, what I experience and what is on my mind a lot. But before I transitioned, it was like a bunch of gay stuff and like sexual, and then after I transitioned, it was just transition like related stuff. And I don't like that. Like I want to be able to write things anybody can relate to, or just like about anything.
Oh, mine have gotten weird. I like all of your old jokes, but then I like the one. I think you almost inspired me to just do whatever because you have a joke about the whale. You're like, they sound too happy or whatever. Or is it too happy? What is it?
The whale? That one I haven't done in forever. Oh, I said like they beached themselves to commit suicide.
Yeah, I love
that's
how like
so
that's
cute.
Oh, that one.
The ambulance?
The ambulance where the siren's too happy. You're
Yeah.
like, woo, woo.
Yeah.
And you're like...
Okay. It's a car crash.
Yeah.
Show some respect. Yeah. I love that one because it's about like not my transition. So it's branching out for me.
That's what I did a weird one recently that people like. I really don't even know why. And I don't know how I know it's funny because it's weird. So I don't think you've heard this one, but I'm like talking about how I'm like bathroom stalls with graffiti or like a Wikipedia pages, like anybody can edit it. You're like, is this a true thing? And then I was like, imagine you're at your office, at work, and I'm like, I've never had an office job. I don't know why. And people laugh at that. And then I'm like, and you're going into the bathroom to relax and like have a good time. And people laugh at that. And then and I'm like, oh, you look around, you see some graffiti, and it's like, Harry loves Emily. And you're like, good for Harry and Emily. Like, I don't know why it's funny. I'm just being dumb as hell. Mm-hmm. Then I go back out to the office. I'm like, guys, did you hear about Harry and Emily? And they're like, please stop telling us about the bathroom wall stuff. And then I say that, I go back weeks later, and I see, like, somebody crossed off loves Emily, and they put Harry loves Dick, and I'm like, who would do that? What kind of jerks? And then the handwriting's actually the same, and I'm like, what if Harry, like, discovered his sexuality the past couple of weeks, and he actually loves a guy named Richard, a.k.a. Dick?
Oh.
And that's the whole joke. But I'm like, where did that come from? Like, that's crazy. Fun. It's so weird, but I just, like, let myself, like, imagine. I feel like a kid again.
I like your flying pussies joke.
I'm gonna bring it back.
That's my favorite, like... Anyway, we're just talking about, like, our own jokes at this point, but... It's fun to, like, write about, because the sky's the limit. Like, you can write about anything, and the challenge of stand-up is to make anything funny. Just, like, how you say it and present it. It's really cool. But it's really hard.
It is hard. I've noticed, do you know Paige Goldman?
Yes.
He's, like, finding his voice. I feel like he's so weird. And I love weird
Me too.
comics. They're my favorite, and like...
Because you want to see what they're going to do next.
Yeah. And you don't know, and it's funny because they don't really follow the rules.
There are rules?
Like, they don't have... I guess they do kind of, but it's like, you're not really sure where the punchline is, I guess, with them.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I feel like most comics, you're like, waiting for it, and then with them, you're like, sneaky. But I think a lot of it, too, is like the way they talk, or...
They're like dancing around the mechanics of stand-up, which is interesting to see.
Well, I think it is interesting because I'm always like, you have to like nail it. I don't know. I don't know how to write, really. I just do it. I just start writing, and then...
You're good at it. I don't know how to write either. I think every like 3 months, a joke will just pop into my brain, and I'm like, great. And in between, I've been working really hard on writing, and it's just all shit.
I was talking to Alex Sheik about this, but like, he was saying how it's so hard to just write a new joke. Because I was telling him I kind of started from nothing again. I was like, I just want to start over, and I was having a hard time. And he was like, it's really hard to like write a new joke. And I think like the one I just described to you right now about the bathroom stall was inspired by my other bathroom stall bits where I'm like drinking alcohol, because I was like, what else is going on in there? But I noticed too, like, I remember in college I was studying Russian, and it was really hard, and it just got harder, and I was like, what do I do? Like, I was like, I feel like I'm like burning myself out. I don't get it. And she was like, just take this book and write the Russian, like just copy it just over and over again. Like I would write, I didn't know that Russian yet.
Uh-huh.
But then it started to click for some reason. Like sometimes your brain just starts to do stuff by itself.
Wow.
So what I've been doing with my bits is if I'm totally lost, every day now I just rewrite a bit.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's like my Russian bit. I just write again. But that was how I got the second half to it. I don't know if you've seen that, where I talk about the 17-year-old boy getting hit. I don't know if you've seen that part. I added a whole nother chunk to it, but it's because I was rewriting. Because I think
cool.
sometimes your brain just does things.
Yeah. That's kind of like how it just like absorbs its own, it's got like background processes going on.
And I think it understands at this point. I mean, I've been doing stand-up now for 5 years, so it's like it has some sort of muscle memory, and it knows like, and it's so clear like there's a reward and then like error, right? Like if you bomb, you're like fuck, and then I feel like when you kill, there's like drugs, like. It is. I feel like I'm high sometimes. Like if I kill, I come off stage and I'm like floating. Like usually I'm terrified on the subway platforms, but if I kill, I'm like, I just feel like God. I'm like, I gotta chill, dude.
It feels really good.
I was not insulting God, but yeah. But I just feel like it. Because of that, like, reward system, your brain's gonna learn faster. Like anything else.
And also the reverse. When you bomb,
oh my God,
it hurts so bad.
It hurts your soul.
You, like, it kills you, in a sense. Like, it's so bad. It's mortifying. Like, I never experienced, the worst I've ever bombed was in LA, in a bar. Just like it was a weird ass show. The guy before me got up on a table and started screaming at everyone, and he yanked the cord to the mic, and it was connected to a speaker that like fell over and slammed, and then the host came up and he was like, "What the fuck? If this is broken, you're paying." It was like such a big, and people were scared. I was scared.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, next, Jay Elliott. And I was like,
oh my
okay.
God.
So I just like went up right after that. Everyone's just like scared and uncomfortable. And at the time, I was new. I wasn't even using my real voice yet. I was trying different things, different ways of acting. And at that particular show, I was trying to imitate Mark Norman's voice.
Oh my God.
So, I don't even know how I sounded. I was like, hey, I don't know. But I did that, and then I guess I kind of try to push the line, like, a lot, and then because I just sounded like a douche, everyone hated me. And I know one joke worked. I said, I just took a 23andMe test, and turns out I'm 5% black, so Black Lives Matter to me now. And then people laughed, and then I said, I'm black, probably like 15 more times. I just kept saying, I'm black.
Oh my God, Jay!
And then everyone just slowly,
oh my God.
the hatred. Like, they hated. That's the thing about stand up is if you
They
fuck
can
up,
hate
they
you.
hate you.
Oh,
They
yeah.
hate you. That's crazy
I'm
that people
black.
hate you. If you suck at singing, people are like, get off the stage, but they don't like hate you as a person.
Yeah, stand up. It's
Stand
very
up,
personal.
they hate. Yeah, the lady in the front got up and moved to the back of the room to get away from me. It's just like crazy, and that was
That
the
is
worst.
so funny.
Yeah, that was the worst I ever did.
I bombed pretty bad. I was gonna say something about you were there. Oh, like how the guy pulled the mic and then you go up next.
Yeah.
So I feel like those moments are really important. Like I it shouldn't matter to me. Like, but whenever I was open micing a lot, and I'm like been very purposefully trying to host more because I'm like it's hard. You're starting cold. You know what I mean? You're just going up into a room of people and you have to be like, this is what funny is, and like get them warm, which is why hosting so hard. And I'm like, I'm going to keep doing it until
I'm not gonna
God
make
knows when.
it.
But I'm just going to keep like pushing. And when people at open mics are like, I don't want to go first, I'm like, I'll go first. I'm going to go first every time because I think you should make it as hard as you can. And per usual, making the episode dark, but I used to do stand up like so I got raped and then I had to see the guy all over and it was like I remember at the time being like I'm gonna die and most people probably would have quit but I was like no I love stand up too much to let this person like not like I'm gonna go up but that was horrific and I was like this is horrible and then I think after going through that I was like I can do stand up in front of anyone.
Yeah.
I can just stand up in front of anyone. I don't
The
give
guy
a
who
fuck.
raped you.
That's what I mean too, and it's like I can be like heartbroken or whatever, and I can still perform. And I was like, after that, that's made you, because people are like, oh, I don't like doing stand up here. I don't like people will complain about the pair open mics, and I'm like, grow a fucking pair of balls and go up there and stop being a bitch.
I know a lot of gay people. I'm kidding. Will say like, oh, I don't like the pair or trans people that I've spoken to,
Yeah.
or like I don't like shows in Manhattan because they're all very like hetero. They're very like bro-y and it's just not the culture. And I'm like, no, that's where I want to get good because then if I can do that, I can do anything.
Exactly.
It's like good training.
That's what I mean too. Like I have to tone down the aggression, but it's like, yeah, it sucks that there's 35 men and then one girl. It's shitty. But if I can get them to laugh,
You can get
and
people
I can
who
get
relate to you more.
anyone to, yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm going to make it as hard for myself as I can and keep plugging away.
You also have to do it for different audiences.
Yeah, you can't just be doing that.
You have to have both. Like, I would bounce between, like... Because I think a lot of queer comics get stuck in just the queer comedy scene. And they just kind of just do that. But I would do, like, The Pair forever and then go do one of those. And they laugh at different things.
You know what I noticed too?
What?
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I just feel like because those, like the queer scene, it's trying to be so supportive, right? Mm-hmm. So then I feel like sometimes they're overly supportive. So something might not be funny and they're like, yes! And you're like, no.
Like that, what?
Same with like some of the women stuff. Because people for a while are like, oh, you don't really do any women stuff. And I was like, I just don't want someone to be supporting me when it's not funny. Yeah. So I was like,
there's more clapter.
I do want a lot of that and I'm like, no, just friggin' react.
Judge me.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, there's too supportive. That's definitely a thing, especially at the open mics. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't helping me if we're just all just supporting. But then you learn that it's different. Like, for queer mics, you can't be as, like, derogatory about stuff because people are more PC, because they will get uptight if you start like playing with like racist stuff or whatever.
Same with the women's
Yeah.
shows I've done, yeah.
And that stuff is funny, but then they'll get tight. So it's kind of weird. And then I remember when we went to Austin and there was a show outside of Austin. And it was such like a conservative vibe there. I was like, how do I say any of my jokes? Because it's all about being gay. And then I just said, okay, I'm going to do my set as racist and homophobic as possible. And they liked it. So you just have to like try different stuff.
But you learn different things, and I think going as hard as you can is the best. Like, I can tone it back now. I had to learn how to be soft, too. You have to learn both ways, but I really do swear by the pair because that room used to terrify me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fear of God. I was like, oh my God, no one's going to laugh. And then even at shows, I would be nervous, and they're tough. And they're tough because they're just tourists. They're like, what is this? Entertain me. They got pulled in off the street.
Sometimes they don't speak English.
Yeah, so you're like, all right, I'm going to do what I can. And then now I feel like fearless. Like, even if I go on a newer stage, I'm like, no, I have training in this. I've been in the worst. I've been in the trenches. And like, sometimes people will be like, I don't want to do midnight shows because they're rowdy. And I'm like, look, you think of everything as a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, some people are like, I don't want to do a bar show because they're not going to be paying attention. Get their attention. Figure it out. Stop complaining. Like, go out.
Don't be a bitch.
Any spot I'm grateful for. And I learned, like, if you're excited too, then they get excited. I had to change my attitude because I used to be more aggressive. And then I would be really like, and I meant it. I'm like, thank you guys for being here. Like, at any point, midnight show, bar show, whatever. People who don't want to be here, I'm like, oh, I appreciate you sticking around, you know?
And because we need the audience. And then also protect your mental health, though. Like, because I would do the worst mics, and it's like two people who just don't want you to say your jokes, and then you're like, am I terrible? And you're like, okay, like, you like a certain amount of struggling, and then like if it's just gonna set you back, where
I've burnt out.
Yeah.
I am really glad I get booked a lot now. And when that first started happening, though, crazy. I'm not crazy, but I was just like, I want to do everything. So I would start my day at like 1. I'm like, I can go over to West Side, do a mic there, do this, do that. And then by the time the show came around, I hated everything because I'm neurotic, because you're like on the train. Not only is it you're around comics that are just really depressing, but then you're also like running through friggin' freezing weather, like train, like getting like New York can make you crazy.
Getting stabbed.
And I was like, I need to. Sometimes I don't have to do mics. I can just do shows and I can work out material there. At this point, I don't have to like. I've had to learn how to be like
constructive.
It's okay. And like maybe I want to write tonight instead of so.
Because you're like, I need to do everything and go up as much as possible.
And then you burn out, and then you hate stand up.
Yeah, you have to figure out what works, and sometimes it's not. Any stage time is good stage time.
That's not true. Not all of it is good. But it depends. You have to assess that for yourself. Like when I was new, all the stage time I could get was good stage time. I think the first 2-3 years, you should be going up like 9-10 times a day. That's just what I think. You should be going up as much as you can.
9 times?
I went up in like an insane amount.
Dude, I don't think I've ever done 10 times a day. That's crazy.
When I moved here, it was getting bad. It was like a lot.
Well, that was also pre-pandemic, right? A lot of stuff shut down. I used to do like maybe 5 or 6 every day. I've slowed down since I started transitioning. You also have to like be a human, and
I'm bad at that. No, I'm not. I've improved a lot.
Yeah.
Especially because I have Gia. She slows me down, which is good. I think it depends. Like I said, it depends. You have to be honest with yourself about where you're at, So if you were like me, where you would be like shaking when you went on stage, I needed to be on stage more to get over that.
Hell yeah.
So that was why in Austin too, I was like, I have to do every single mic and every single show. Because it took me a long time to get over those nerves. And people now are like, you're so confident up there. And I'm like, dude, it was
took forever.
Forever.
It took me a while I feel like it took me a while. Maybe it's been not that long, but it's been such a journey from when I started. I just got up on stage, forgot everything, shook, couldn't talk barely, and now I go up there and just
do your thing.
Do my thing.
And it's weird. I mean, okay, so I'm 5 years in. Sometimes I'm like, I'm as comfortable as I can be, and then a few months go by and I was like, oh, I'm even more comfortable now. It's really weird. You don't realize, like, you almost, like, it, like, gets deep, like, more profound. You're like, oh, I didn't know
how else I could be.
Yeah, I didn't know how else I could be more comfortable, or, like, I feel really more aware of pausing. Like, this pissed me off. That's why new comics sometimes ask me for advice, and I'm like, I can't give you advice. Just go up as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because these fucking annoying ass comics, a lot of dudes would be like, you gotta slow down. I'm like, I'm so scared up there. You don't think I want to slow down? Like, I don't know how to do it. I was so fucking, like, shook, like, it's just adrenaline. And I was like, I can't. And
Priorities.
Then over time, it just naturally happened. But people would be like, slow down. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm just trying to not die on there, like, upstage. So.
Yeah, you gotta try everything. I've done too fast. I've done too slow. I've done someone else's voice. I've done my own voice. I've done, like, super gay and feminine. And then I've done,
one time I just screamed a whole set.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta try it all. I used to be a prop comic.
What?
Yeah, dude. One time I made...
What did you do?
I had a hamster and I was trying to... I didn't bring him on stage. I just thought his name was Lavaca, like the cow, because he was white and black, like Gia.
Cool.
But
she looks like Shamu.
She does look like Shamu. I forget what the joke was. Oh, I was trying to write a joke about, like, it was so dumb, Jay, and it was, like, so obvious what was going to happen. It was so bad, because I didn't understand misdirects, really. It was, like, too obvious.
Yeah.
So I had this joke about, I was like, I keep my son in a cage. And then I was like, in this wallet is a picture. I don't know why. I made a huge wallet out of, like, duct tape. It was enormous. It was, like, this big.
Okay.
And so then I printed out a huge picture of Lavaca. And then I was, like, pulling it out. And before I even got to, like, the picture, someone was like, it's like a mouse. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and I was like, I did all of this shit for nothing. And then my second and last prop was, I had this really weird joke about Achilles' heel, where I was like, oh, everyone has an Achilles heel. Mine is my armpit hair. Like, I don't know what I was saying. And so I had these fake bangs that I just didn't want anymore because they got gross. And I, like, cut them up and I was like, here's my armpit hair. And, like, it walked the audience. And the host was like, do not do that again. And I was like, because I tried to hand it to them and they left. And I was like, no, take it. And they were, I don't know why. And there was, like, no joke to it. But it was so gross. And I was like, I'm going to stop using my imagination. Like, it was insane.
Damn. Just all the mistakes, all the blunders.
Huge mistakes.
It's fun, though.
It is
it's
fun.
So stupid.
Yeah, looking back, you're like...
Stand-up is fun because it's so dumb. Like, we're just telling dick jokes and shit.
Even now, I'm like, my jokes are similar to that, I guess. I just didn't have the technique. Because I think looking back, I'm like, I know what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it. Because I think I could bring it back and make it funny now. But then it's like you don't have the muscles yet, right? Like, it's like you're lifting, like, you start with, like, 10 pounds. And then eventually you'll get to 50. That's what I think it's like. Where you're like, okay, I'm learning. Oh, my God, what time is it? Yeah, we gotta go meet our friend. Where can they find you?
Instagram _JAYELLIOT.
And mine is at Espirivadenera, ESPIRIVADENEIRA. Bye.
Bye.